when people didn't play for money, they just played because they love the game and for their country. You know, you don't rely on outside parties to help you. Just do it yourself. Raise your own money, raise your own transportation, fix the matches, make everyone happy. Juan Antonio Samaranch told me, he says, we love squash. I know, we all know about squash, but just imagine, you know, you're waiting for the bus arrives, you try and get on, but the bus is full, you cannot get on. And he said, that is a situation for squash. You might be at the front of the queue, sorry, you know, the bus is full. Revenue does matter to big you know, organizations like the IOC. So squash missed out again. And now, but we're going to be in LA 28.
Finally.
What
did you take away from those setbacks every time you were faced with the opportunity to bring squash?
There was a lot of political influence involved. And for me, that was not my
foray.
I just didn't like being involved, you know, politically. You know, I don't like politics anyway. And so, you know, to lobby like a politician or to offer quid pro quos and all these sort of things, I said, you know, we just need to just get in on our own merits.
On merit, yeah.
Yeah. And I've always believed that.
What are your thoughts now that squash has finally been included?
I'm very happy for all those that have been involved, from the players through to the officials. And media has helped a lot. I think they've improved the presentation wonderfully with these glass formal courts and the camera work. You know, the let, no let point system, you know, the Hawkeye, whatever, works brilliantly on TV. It's become not a bad spectator sport on television. You can finally see the ball because they use a white ball. The improvements are wonderful. The playing is as good as ever, probably better than ever. The players are really working hard at it. And, you know, I'm very happy, except for the fact that they only have 16 men and 16 women, females playing. And unfortunately, some will have 2 because, you know, their rankings are very high, like the Egyptians and maybe the English.
Yeah.
And I think the Americans will have automatic entries as host. So there are not that many other places for, you know, other deserving athletes, sports, you know, people, sports players. So I think it's a sad thing that they didn't, you know, after all, new sport, you only allow 32 athletes. You know, how many countries can be represented in that?
Yep. KL98, Commonwealth Games.
Absolutely fabulous. The only thing that went wrong in the Commonwealth Games 98 was a closing ceremony. It was a closing ceremony where the Queen declared the games closed.
Yeah.
But before that,
the fireworks
went off because the cue was the word closed. So when the MC said, and now we'd like to invite the Queen to declare the games closed.
They took that as the cue.
That was the cue closed. That's the only thing that went wrong. It was perfect. And for Malaysia, it was our best performance, you know, in the Commonwealth Games into today.
Arguably one of Malaysia's defining sporting moments. You were central to the bid, and you were part of the organizing committee for Comberhat. What was the atmosphere like in the build-up to the Games?
We had tremendous support all round, and I must say that our huge and probably the crucial supporter to make it successful was the Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir, and the way he approached it. And he had a cabinet steering committee of himself, and the Minister of Work, Swami Velu, and a few others that were involved, in the games, from the Home Affairs, in terms of immigration and the transport and police and whatever else. About 6 or 7 ministers. He called a regular meeting, once every 2 months maybe, of this steering committee. Got a report from his brother-in-law, which was a stroke of genius, that he suggested that his brother-in-law could be the, chairman of the organizing committee, General Tun, Freddie Hashim Ali, and it was really a good steering committee. I mean, he just went through every detail about the progress. I mean, so there was, from the government side, there was no lack, none of this, dilatory sort of thing that was going on, like often it does. And you have to wait till one, ministry gets its act together. No, they were on the ball. So that one, I think I take my hat off to. The other one was Freddie Hashim, choosing so many of his key directors, like Nash, Nashata Singh, and a few others, involved in transport or whatever else it is, security, and he, who were really on the ball. And I think in the end, we just, put Malaysia on the map as one of the, great organizing nations for sport, and noticed by IOC and everything.
What was the pressure like working on the games, behind the scenes?
Funnily enough, I mean, I was chairman of sports and chairman of finance. They were all, I didn't find any pressure. Quite honestly, on the finance side, we were 14 million short of our estimate. Only 14 million out of, it's this huge thing, only because one person, there was a mistake on the allocation of the seats for the opening and closing ceremony,
right,
where the killed seats, where we had basically taken over
to do the stage,
and in the stands where the cards were.
Yes.
So the section there, unfortunately, it slipped through that we were supposed to. There were kill seats, but we gave those numbers to the person to sell. So in the end, he sued us. We paid him too much, and we couldn't get back that 14 million. So we were cheated of 14 million, but that's history.
Yeah.
But we would have been right on budget.
A key innovation.
But the pressure, I didn't feel it. Everyone worked so well, like clockwork.
A key innovation that Sukhumvit had in KL98 was introducing team sports, like you said just now, cricket and rugby. Why push for that change? And did you get any resistance?
Actually, everyone agreed immediately when I suggested that. The first premise was, when we got it, we said, okay, we must make the games reflective of what the Commonwealth is best at. So we, having all agreed that, we went back, said, what is the Commonwealth best at? Rugby, cricket, netball, hockey, team sports, yeah. And then we sort of slipped in squash, and then we slipped in bowling, because bowling was already, we were up there. So those are the sports that came in. And so the team sports, to me, was obvious. And the fact that, something like rugby sevens already had the shorter, the short format of the sport. It was highly successful in the Hong Kong sevens and all these other sevens tournaments.
Yeah.
That it was a no-brainer almost. And the hockey, of course, was all Commonwealth. All the top nations, at the time, except for Holland and Germany, were all the top nations, India, Pakistan, Australia. And netball was one of the most popular games in the Caribbean and in Africa and in Pacific, already all Commonwealth.
Yeah.
So it was all like, those sports were a no-brainer, really.
A key event would have been watching your father, the late almarhum Tunku Imran, become the first head of state, other than the Queen, to officiate the opening ceremony at the Commonwealth Games. As a son, what was it like watching that moment from the stands?
It was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So, anyway...
was that a decision that Sukhom actively wanted to?
That was something that was non-negotiable. Yeah, we have our own head of state. And so they did agree then with that compromise of the, Malaysia opening, and she can do the closing.
Yeah. Looking back at KL 98 now, what stands out as the biggest success or your proudest memory of the Games?
Well, I think the proudest memory was that opening ceremony. In that wonderful Rolls-Royce, open Rolls-Royce, which, by the way, was lent to us by the Sultan of Brunei.
Oh, really?
Yes, it belonged to Malaysia. And it was just seeing the whole scene and the crowd going delirious and then watching back on TV, it was just the most wonderful sight. And my father sort of with the, in that, thing with the Queen, my mother, with the Duke of Edinburgh, and all waving at the crowd. It was wonderful. Absolutely great.
(1998) Olympic Council of Malaysia. You became president, a role that you would hold on to for 2 decades, 20 years. What were your immediate priorities when you took over?
My immediate priority was I was being forced to take it over by my peers, the other vice presidents and the other committee members. Not that we have anything, against it, but the then president Tan Sri Hamzah was, really, not so innovative in his thinking, and and we wanted sort of really something that was moving fast, because and you needed to move fast because on the back of the successful 98 games, which is very successful, which put the Commonwealth Games on the map. From a boring 10 sport games to a really interesting 16 sport games, which reflect what the Commonwealth is best at. So we really needed to move the OCM in so many different directions, domestically, internationally, structure-wise, governance-wise. Which wasn't happening. A lot of sports that were being left out because they weren't original sports or part of the Olympic program. I mean, new sports that were burgeoning, and yet, the bowlings of this world and all that. Yeah. So in the end, they asked me to
take the helm,
to take over, which I did, and he refused to step down. So in the end, but being my father's schoolmate at Malay College, we were very nicely sort of gentlemanly. We never lobbied. we just put our names forward and decide, who wins.
In essence, as part of the IOC and OCM and the Commonwealth Games Federation, you did sort of have a bit of foreign service experience.
Very much. But I really started it with squash. I had already started it with cricket. I was a long-time representative of Malaysia and the representative of the associate members in cricket, which is, the non-test playing countries. So they've elected me 11 years to be there. So I was there a long time, and I was involved in the IOC, the ICC, International Cricket Council, development committee, and some of the work, and I was a chairman of that development committee, and so I used to go down to all sorts of different new places for cricket, down to South America, even, down to Vanuatu, visited, the Pacific Islands, Fiji, Samoa. So I really, got involved in IOC and in Commonwealth Games very much. So in Malaysia-wise, we had put Malaysia on the map in SEA Games, in Asian Games, in, voice, respect. Respect not only that we were good at organizing, sports and games, but in terms of international fora, we had something to add to the discussion, some new things to offer, some new direction, some new ideas.
2 decades leading OCM from 98 to 2018. What were the highest highs and the lowest lows during that tenure?
Highest. Well, highest. Well, I think 2017 SEA Games was a great high as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Because we did so well, and we organized it so well, and so I thought that was almost to the end of my sort of tenure. And by the way, I had decided already to retire when I was 70. I told myself, when I'm 70, I'm retiring out of all of these things, if I'm still on it, which I did. 2017 SEA Games was a fabulous occasion. The low was losing the Asian Games bid in 2006 to Qatar. It was in Korea, and the vote was in Korea and Busan, and it was so clear that we were the best bid, the most organized bid, and were front runners until the last minute. I can't say anything.
Of course not.
What happened, but it was a bit, not, to me, something not right happened. But to give Qatar its due, they did a brilliant games.
Yes.
When it was their turn, as they have done ever since. I think that was really the start of their big foray into global, sports and organizing global things. And of course, the World Cup 2022 was the
crowning achievement for them.
Yeah.
As the Commonwealth Games Federation president, you addressed the Glasgow 2014 Games. And we have to ask about the famous moment with the Queen's baton. What can you share what happened on the day?
Well, as you know, what the Queen's baton is, it's there's a message which is put inside at Buckingham Palace and then put together, and then that baton goes around the Commonwealth countries.
Yeah.
and is not opened until the opening ceremony, when the president opens the baton and hands the speech over to Her Majesty or the head of the Commonwealth to read. So I started opening this baton, which Chris Hoy, the cyclist, had brought out, who's a Scotsman, as you know, and I couldn't open it. It was normally just a press and then it goes click. And so I was fighting him off and I was smiling at the Queen. I think the British BBC said, "What is this, a comedy act or something?" Anyway, having tried to knock him off, finally there was a click, and then I clicked, and then it opened, and eureka, voila, it just opened, and then everything went off fine. So the only thing that Her Majesty said later was, it was easier in Buckingham Palace, wasn't it?
In 2015, you brought the IOC session to KL.
Yes.
How important was that for Malaysia's standing?
That's, again, very important. Again, it was recognition. The fact that it was an eye-opener for them about Kuala Lumpur. Most of them hadn't been to KL. They thought that we were just another outpost somewhere. And they realized what a modern city, modern facilities. They stayed at the Mandarin Oriental, and the conference was in the KLCC, which meant that there was no security, was tight. There was no buses to take. So many of the others, they had to take buses to go to the conference center. It was a couple of them had to go down to hospital. It was and we used the Prince Court, just again down the road. They just couldn't believe, the medical facilities were so modern. I mean, and we organized everything impeccably. We met people at the airport. They got to their rooms at the hotel. Just put them straight up to their rooms. They had that wonderful club lounge, which they have in the Mandarin Oriental, which takes a whole floor. And they've never seen that in a hotel before, a whole floor of a hotel. And the views were fantastic for them, with the Twin Tower. And I mean, it was a huge, wonderful experience for them. And it was voted, and I can't think of anything that surpassed it.
You mentioned the SEA Games earlier being one of the highest highs during your time at OCM. And you've highlighted previously the emergence of young, unexpected champions, especially at the 2017 SEA Games. In relation to Sukma, how crucial are the SEA Games for a platform for not just discovering, but giving new Malaysian talent a competitive experience?
I think any international experience is absolutely wonderful for any young athlete. But SEA Games, of course, it's a multi-sports games, and it puts a greater focus, on everything, and the whole nation is really watching you. So that's where the SEA Games is so important. But I've always said that only regard it as the first step. Then you got to look at Commonwealth, Asian, and Olympics as, and the World Championships are all the ultimate. So I said, just because you've arrived as a gold medal, you have to always remember, we're only 11 countries. We're not 198, 202 now in the Olympics.
You also mentioned earlier that you knew you were going to step down from the OCM presidency and your CGF roles when you turned 70. How did you know it was the right time?
Well, I didn't know. One doesn't know it's the right time. That's the issues of leadership. So that's where I just took the decision. Okay, I was going to be 70. At 70 also, you step down from the IOC membership and become if you've been there 10 years, you become honorary member. So it was an arbitrary date, really, but it sounded like a really good date. And of course, I've been there 20 years, and I think, well, that's more than long enough. And you always look at yourself, in sort of chats and everything about politics. So someone's been there too long. This politician, should is getting too old. So I realized that, yeah, you might still be able to do things, but there are younger people around. Give them an opportunity. That's why it really was an arbitrary date. It wasn't as if it's just but 70 sounded like 2018. It all sounded like the national after the SEA Games. Yeah. Successful. Hosting of SEA Games. So I just looked at it over the years. I said, okay, 1998 Commonwealth Games, 2017 SEA Games. Yeah, okay, we haven't done Asian Olympics, and that's another story. I think, Olympics, I think we could do it, but probably jointly with Singapore. I think that's something that I've always felt that we could do, and I even have sort of put in feelers to IOC management, and they think it would be the greatest thing ever. But it was all conditional for me personally. It was all conditional on this HST, this high-speed train between KL and Singapore, because that would be brilliant. You don't even have to stay the night in Singapore.
Yep.
Or spend 4 hours in the car. You just get on the train, go down, watch the match, come back.
You're done. Looking back across your entire journey, from a young athlete all the way up to being an international leader in sports, what's the achievement you're most proud of?
I don't think I can put anything, to that. I've done so many things which I am proud of, that I feel that, you have to just look at the different sports, really. I think I helped world squash, on the map. I put Malaysian cricket into the right direction. But we haven't achieved yet what I felt that we could achieve, and I think we will achieve in future. I put OCM on a really good governance and a support organization for other organizations. I think that I gave OCM a voice in government that they would listen to. So, and then Sport Excel, I think, continues to be useful. And I think we continue trying to reinvent or improve at least all our projects. And now, it's going extremely well. I get very happy when I'm around to help people who need advice, because I'm very happy now to give advice, because I have a depth of experience in all sorts of sports, in all sorts of situations.
Definitely.
But really, to me, I really can't pinpoint exactly what my proudest, of course, one of the, we mentioned the Commonwealth Games, Glasgow. That's probably the most visible of all to everyone, because it was, gave everyone a laugh. But I think the most important thing is that I've had fun doing it. And I believe that the people that have I've been with during that period of time have also enjoyed themselves, had fun. And I think that sport is all about fun. And if the athletes are enjoying what they're doing, I think they will win. They will continue to win. If you're not enjoying something, you're not going to do well.
Conversely, what was the biggest challenge that you faced?
Well, I think the biggest challenge I face is and I think it's the continuing challenge for Malaysia and Malaysian sport, is the fact that the best facilities in this country are owned by this Ministry of Education through the schools and universities. And unfortunately, they are really very, very much underutilized. And also, there's sort of no interest really in, schools particularly, of encouraging or, promoting sport. And that, until we get over that hurdle, then, we have a big problem. In fact, I recognize this even many years ago when former Prime Minister Najib Razak became, a minister and the Minister of Sport. I asked him, he asked me, what would be if you're allowed one thing, that would improve, Malaysian sports. Just one thing, Pete, just one thing. And I said, Jib, very simple. Put the Ministry of Youth and Sport under the Ministry of Education, and half your battle is won. And he replied, I can't do that. I'd lose my job.
You've actually spoken about Malaysia needing to embed sports into its culture to become a true sporting nation. It's something we at Julang feel very strongly about. What do you think are the key steps needed to achieve that? Well,
it's like anything. Who are the most influential people in, that will, create culture change or culture or establishment in a child? It's the parents and the teachers. Now, I think that we go on and on about the parents, but parents are parents. But there's that other very important element, which is the school teacher. So why, aren't they inculcating sports? Why are the fields empty at weekends? Why, aren't they using it? Because the directive from above just isn't there. Now, also, where does that start? The teacher. The teacher starts being a teacher at the teaching training colleges. Why aren't the teacher training colleges teaching, the teachers more about sport, more about the nurturing the sport, learning some sports, like English also. Why is our English poor? So everyone says that they want to bring foreign teachers in to help. Hello, who taught them English in the first place? Shouldn't they be, they can't become a teacher until they know how to, speak English or write English properly. So where does it start? It starts right at the bottom. And that, in the end, who creates the culture, whoever is teaching you the culture, either the teacher, your parents, and therefore, ultimately, us, the government, the society. But I think when you look at the micro side of things, it is those two influences, parents and teachers.
Throughout your career, you've navigated the very complex world of royalty, of business, and of sports politics. What are the most important leadership lessons that you've learned?
I think one is respect. I think all leaders must treat everyone and everything with respect, and not just actually doing it, but seem to be doing it. Because everyone is in front of a TV now, or a handphone, or whatever, and you can be disrespectful suddenly in public, but when you're not normally like that, but you suddenly get branded as someone very disrespectful. So I think respect, compassion, I think these are very important values that leaders must have. And also really a sense of purpose and direction. I mean, not get into a job and just sit and administer. It's there. You have been elected or appointed to lead. So therefore, what's your job is to lead. So you have to somehow set a direction, or if you can't set the direction yourself, get everyone else to come into the thinking and collectively set the direction. That was my management style anyway. I think you can ask many of them that it wasn't like necessarily me telling everyone what to do now and where to go. It's, hey guys, we need to get better on this particular issue, and what do you think? And let everyone have their say. And I think that's the other good point about leader, is to listen to what people have to say, particularly those that are with you. If you're not listening to your companions, your committee, your board, or whatever, then I think you'll go out on a suicide path, possibly. Sorry, maybe not the right word, but
no, I think it is. Is there anything you do differently?
You go back and you look at, and then I've always said, I don't think so. I don't think I would change my life as long as I had I keep those values that I believe I have, and also sort of learnt over the years that I think as long as I know the Malaysian word, they also always be a humble. I don't think that's the right word. I mean, humble to me is respect. You can act to be humble, but not believe it. So that's also bad. That's hypocrisy. So just be yourself, believe it. Often, you may have to do what your instinct tells you. If you can't get the right opinions and the right consensus, but otherwise, do it together. And that's where I believe I've always enjoyed the teamwork, the continual, working together as team to get to a final destination.
How do you stay involved in sport?
I get interested. I'm interested. I read and I watch a lot of sport. People tell me, keep me informed, and then people, I'm involved areas already that keeps me involved in sport. From the Yayasan Saim Derby to Sport Excel to whatever the other sports are.
And finally, Tunku, what message or advice would you give to young Malaysians today who are passionate about sports, whether they be targeting to be an athlete or even a future leader?
I think stick to it, enjoy it, and seek people's advice, but always try and get the people around you. I mean, you can call it community, but those that are involved to keep together, think together, and work together. You can't do it alone. Really, one person can't do it alone. He's just got to ensure that he's there with the support sort of system that he feels he needs, and he's enjoying, and he respects that they all work together to the final destination.
Tunku Imran, it's been an absolute privilege hearing your story, your insights, and your passion for Malaysian sport. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with the Julang audience.
And thank you, Julang. Thank you, Azlan.
All right, that's it.
Sertai perbualan dalam komen section di bawah dan mari teruskan perbincangan. Terima kasih kerana menyertai kami dalam perjalanan ini ke dunia sukan Malaysia. Julang adalah pilihan anda untuk berita dan perbincangan sukan dan hiburan. Di sini, anda akan menemui berita terkini, analisis mendalam, pandangan pakar dan cerita yang penting kepada rakyat Malaysia. Jika anda suka video ini, tekan butang like, subscribe untuk konten yang eksklusif dan aktifkan notifications supaya anda tidak terlepas video kami yang seterusnya. Kita jumpa di sana.